So you will find that the worship of youth today has become probably the most important single development of our time. It would never have occurred to a guy of 150 years ago to literally, and I mean it, I actually mean it. I know many men who have devoted their entire lives to their children. Literally, they have prostrated themselves before their children. And a man could do no more for his God. Literally, he had to do that. 150 years ago, many a man would do this for the church. He would prostrate himself before the church, and half of his income or more would go into the church. And he would devote all of his waking and working hours toward working toward. This is exactly what guys are doing now for their children. Now, of course, they'll say to you, "Well, I want my kids to have everything that I didn't have," which. I wonder, you see, I wonder whether it's a selfish thing they're doing. I don't think they're worrying about the kid at all. I really don't. I think they're trying in some frantic way to get the kid to love them, which is a selfish thing. Just like a guy 150 years ago was in a frantic way trying to get whatever God he worshiped to love him. He wanted this God to take it easy on him when the time came. And many a parent, you see, is frantically trying to buy the love of that little god or goddess that is in the front bedroom, who is now listening, by the way. Hi, clown. How does it feel to be a god? The old man, of course, he's listening to this now and says, "Oh, what's this nut talking about? For crying out loud, Well, he knows very well. He can't get out of it. The old flubber knows exactly what I'm talking about, and he knows that just like the God of yesteryear, that when the guy was laying and paying obeisance to that God, when he was laying down putting down the tithes, and he was throwing out the wreaths and everything else, he was hoping that when the day came, now I capitalize that day. When the day came, it would go easy on him. Well, now, what is the parent's the day? What is the day of the parent who is paying obeisance or obeisance, whichever you prefer, to the little god in the front bedroom? Well, that is the day when that kid all of a sudden looks up from his spaghetti and says, "Hey," and everyone looks up, "Look, I'm cutting out." Well, that is the day that every parent dreads. And they hope that when the kid finally cuts out and goes out on the lamb and leaves the cocoon, he will do so trailing love for them. That's exactly what they're hoping. Because the minute that the God leaves them, they are dead. This is one definition of death. You know, we can go into that. That's very philosophical here, but it's very confusing there. But when your religion is dead, to many people, you are dead, dead, dead. And so when the kid leaves the nest and goes down and makes the scene on Bleecker Street, then the family, because it has lost its god or goddess, is in certain religious philosophical concepts dead, and they want to be cast into heaven. Which is to say, get a phone call from the kid once a week. To say, "Hey, Ma, yeah, it's okay, yeah, don't worry, Ma." "What do you mean, Ma? I only got busted twice last year. What are you talking about? It didn't cost the old man more than $50. Yeah. All right, Ma, yeah. What chick? Oh, that chick, for crying out loud. She's been out of here for a month. There's a new one, Barbie, yeah. Yeah, I'll bring her over sometime. Yeah. Okay, Ma. Yeah, I'll be careful. Look, Ma, she knows all about it. This chick knows. Yeah. Okay, Ma, yeah. Hey, look, will you get off my back? Yeah, I'll call. Yeah. Oh, look. Look, Ma, will you... Oh, yeah. Okay, Ma, yeah. Hey, Barbie! She wants to say hello. Look, she can't come to the phone now, Ma. Yeah. All right, Ma. Call next week. Yeah. Say hello to Pa. Yeah. Bye. Oh boy, what a yeah. So that is one definition of heaven. Getting a call from the kid. It's a great thing. Now even better than that is once every 6 months getting a letter. Now it's like having a visitation in the old days of religion, when there was a different kind of religion, a visitation or a vision or some kind of a sign. That's in capital letters, a sign. And so the sign is to get that phone call when it isn't on a holiday. You see? If it is on a holiday, it doesn't count. Not really. It's only a half a pointer if it's on Thanksgiving. It's a quarter pointer if it's on Christmas. And if it's on the kid's birthday, nothing. Kid's looking for a handout. So, as a matter of fact, one of the most interesting aspects, of course, of this new worship of youth and the God and Goddess is that many families attempt to forestall that day, and I'm in caps, that day, by when the day arrives and the chick or the guy decides they're going to cut out, they're going to get married or something, that the parents are offended if they are not allowed to completely finance the marriage. In other words, the kid and his wife are totally paid for by the mother and by the father, so they can continue to pay. You see, because most people do not believe in a religion that does not exact the toll. And and as long as a toll is being exacted, that means somehow you got a direct connection with God. In fact, this is one of the reasons why many of the very poverty-stricken nations are tremendously religious, because they feel that they are constantly there is a toll being exacted of them, and so they have a very close relationship with their God, whatever God it might be. But as a nation grows more and more affluent, and the tolls get harder and harder to spot, hence there is a sense of growing further and further and further away from whatever God might be worshipped at the time. And so in the family, since the God is right there in the hall bedroom and yelling every 20 minutes for more dough and saying, look, you see, one of the hardest things about gods is to get them to love you. This is a problem that religious has been part of the religious thing forever. If you could get the goddess of fire or the god of the forest to get off your back 30 billion years ago, you've made it. If you could get the god of the storm to quit hitting you with lightning, somehow you'd made it. And the most general way to do this was through the human sacrifice. Now, we do that today, of course. Usually the human sacrifice is the old man in the family. And the mother is more or less the priestess. And so she is the go-between between the human sacrifice. The priestess sacrifices the old man before the god of this little squirt who's in the hall bedroom. And she does it in many ways. Like, now look, are you going to give him trouble? Now look, Charles, things are different than when you and I were kids. Fork it over. And by the way, about the car tonight, Charles, you're just going to have to take a cab. Because little Carl, yes, I'm sorry, he's... And so there is the human sacrifice stretched out there on the stone altar at Stonehenge, with the spear sticking out of his heart and his ears cut off and the blood draining down into the sacrificial trough, with the kid, which the kid is about to drink. You see, making the sign and then putting the wreath on his head and going out and getting into the Pontiac Tempest. Well named. And he goes bombshelling off down US 4, as all true gods and goddesses do, riding a thunderbolt, or is it a thunderbird? But nevertheless, this god analogy can be carried all the way. Now, of course, these are very fickle gods. Gods have always been. And the more fickle a god, the more you attempt to assuage his anger, the more you stick with him. So if you have a calm, benign God, nobody wants a calm, benign God because, you can get along with him too easy. You want a God that once in a while belts you with a lightning bolt. And so every third or fourth week when the kid is brought home by 3 cops, screaming and yelling and kicking with the smell of marijuana around him, and trailing the odor of the pool room behind him, that is a lightning bolt. So once again, we must assuage the God, and you will find that in many homes, the wilder and the stinkier the kid is, the greater comes the gifts, and the greater will come the love offerings. And so it is always with gods. The more lightning that strikes the primitive man, the more guys he sacrifices, invariably. The more thunderous forest fires that roar throughout his homeland and destroy continents, the more sheaves of grain he will lay out, the more rabbits he will kill, the more dromedaries he will skin, all to assuage the fantastic wrath of this thunderous God. Well, so we have it, and I wonder how many gods and goddesses are listening tonight who have just tuned over to WABC and the Swingin' Whoopies. And I'll tell you this, now, like all true religions, I'm sure that there are many penitents, who are listening tonight who feel that I am now being sacrilegious. Oh yes, I'll get angry letters about this. I'm being very sacrilegious about this whole scene. And yet all the while, that little enigmatic Buddha sitting in the front hall room there is chuckling away, laughing. Chuckle, chuckle, wow, wow. Well, that's all right, kid. You play it for all it's worth, because it isn't every generation, believe me, that is truly descended from Valhalla. It is not every generation that not only has, well, actually not descended from Valhalla, I should say resides in Valhalla. They have not descended from Valhalla. And so, as they look down, I'm curious, though, how they look down upon all the people on the plain, which, of course, is what we've always thought about gods. How many articles have you seen within the past 6 months called how to understand the teenager? Do you understand that lout that keeps throwing stuff through your window? And of course, have you noticed that the guilt always comes back to the penitent, which is always the case with true religions. It's always that any time the thunderbolts come down and destroy everybody, it's because the people were rotten. It is just because the people were somehow rotten, and you'll notice that almost every sociological tract that is written on children of today always says it's the parents' fault when the kid burns the garage down, invariably. Well, it's always been this way with religion. The priests have always said to you, whenever 17 guys got hit by the tidal wave, it is because we have sinned. It is because we have been rotten in our souls. We have not had enough faith. And so you'll find the sociological worker, the plotter in the wheat fields, the man out there flaying away in the vineyards of the new religion, when he appears on Barry Farber's show, will say, well, we must realize that all the parents are at fault. You can't say anything about the kids. It's not the kids. It's the old man. It's the parents. Yes, look into your souls. Where have you sinned? Where have you sinned? Why did he burn down the garage? You have sinned.